Hello, gorgeous people, and welcome to another TV Central one-on-one podcast. I'm Aaron Ryan. Under the Vines is about two city people who manage to inherit a failing vineyard in New Zealand, but neither of them know a thing about hard work, and they despise each other. Now, that may be the premise, but throughout season one, they learn the value of hard work, and that despise for each other might just be turning into, well, not so despising. The show stars technically New Zealand actress Rebecca Gibney, but we, of course, have claimed her as our own in Australia with roles in shows like The Flying Doctors and Packed to the Rafters. However, one of the breakout stars from the series is Simon Mead, who plays the lovable Gus, who we found out was gay in season one. Gus is kind, and his uncomplicated take on the world is endearing and heartwarming. Simon Mead, kia ora, and thank you for joining me at TV Central.
Kia ora, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. Well, the premise for the show is about two people inheriting a wine vineyard and the complexities of their relationship. However, it's almost like the vineyard is just a means to what the show is really about: love, connection, community. So for new viewers, how would you describe Under the Vines?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like it's kind of fun because I think you can kind of, it's not, I wouldn't put it in the realm of like Schitt's Creek, but it's kind of taking like these kind of an Australian Sydney socialite and this like sort of London lawyer, and then chucking them into this sort of quirky New Zealand town, which kind of, I guess, just exhibits a little bit of our humor, and throwing those sort of characters into that mix is always a fun time, I find.
I want to talk briefly about Daisy and Louis first, and then I really want to expand on your character, Gus.
Totally.
Aside from the wonderful world of television that likes the slow draw of central characters to come together, but they are very different people, almost an odd couple. However, after they peel back the masks of their lives, which is more about their occupations, their physical belongings, and their busy lives, and now in this slow down rural town community in New Zealand, and people are more their authentic selves, maybe they're not such the odd couple. How do you take the pairing of Daisy and Louis?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you summed it up really well. I think when you kind of look at these two, it kind of represents life a little bit in terms of who we meet, and especially in this kind of, I feel like, social climate, you're definitely throwing out a facade of yourself, or like there's always a mask up. And I think definitely in the day and age of social media, especially with someone like Daisy and all the glam and things that you kind of want to show off to make the world view in a certain way, but you kind of realize slowly that that all doesn't really matter. And I think this is kind of just one of those cute shows that sort of, you get thrown into, like you said, that sort of small kind of country quirky town, and people really do actually value and respect authenticity. And I think it's kind of the ideal place for both Daisy and Louis to sort of end up, because not only can they sort of find their way in terms of meeting each other, but in terms of finding themselves as well. So I think it's I completely agree. It's just sort of a beautiful place for them to end up.
If Daisy and Louis are the body of the show, I think Gus and Tippy are the heart. How would you describe Gus?
I think Gus is just like honest and earnest, and he's a little weird. He's quite philosophical. He's not I just don't think he's got anything to hide, and I think he doesn't know anything different either. I think that's the main thing about Gus, is he's oblivious to the world that I think Louis and Daisy come from. That's for sure. He's used to just being him, and even like, you even look at him like with his top off all the time. I don't even think he's aware of like the fact that he is the way he is, looks the way he is, speaks the way he speaks. He's just genuinely there to be him and to do the best he can, and be the best friend to someone, and just do whatever makes him happy, I suppose. And I think he's like a real mirror to a lot of people in this show, to just sort of embrace who you are and not really care about what people think, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, that's the best way I can think about Gus.
I must confess, I mean, I do have a crush on Gus, and don't worry, Simon, I can definitely separate actor and character. But there is something about Gus, isn't there? I mean, I just crave to see the world through his eyes. I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Because the word simple just doesn't seem, it seems unfitting, because that perhaps conjures a thought that he has no layers or he's not educated. He just seems to block out the noise of the world, the useless complexities humans add to things, and peels back to a layer of innocence and rawness that I reckon is both refreshing and some might say idealistic. I think you've really touched on that, but could you describe any better? Do you see Gus like that?
Yeah, I think I just honestly, I think the best way to think about it, like, is he just wears his heart on his sleeve. Like, I don't think he really, and I know what you mean about the simple element. It's actually more just like, it is what it is for him. Like, that's just plain and simple. Like, everything that he says, there is no other what's the word? There's no other intention going into what he's saying. And that almost makes it so much easier playing Gus, because you read the script and he's not trying to say anything other than what he is saying. And he's never going to tell you anything that he doesn't believe. Which is why he's almost one of those characters where it's like, if you needed anyone to come to get the honest truth on what the situation might be, he would be able to just give you that plain, straight answer that I think a lot of people in this day and age are a little too scared to give people. And I think that's a really lovely element about him, just because he can really guide a lot of these other characters through their journeys, but as well as not forcing or pushing his agenda on anyone. He's just going to tell you and tell himself exactly what they want to hear and what is true. Not what they want to hear, but what is true.
Yeah. How much of that innocence of Gus is in you? Do you share any similarities?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like probably quite a naive, sweet boy, but I think I overthink. I think I overthink a lot more than Gus does. Like anyone, I don't think it's easy to go through this world as easily as Gus seems to go through it. I mean, obviously he comes across his own few challenges and things like that throughout the 2 seasons that we've filmed. But yeah, I do see a lot of myself in him at times, but then at the same time, like, I'm pretty realistic about how this world works, and unfortunately I'm not quite as I don't know, I probably have more issues than old Gus does.
Well, one of Gus's lines in the show when he's gardening was, "Do you think plants feel like their feet are being tickled when you plant them?" Classic Gus. Is that innocence again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's, again, like, that's honestly just him thinking something and then saying it, which I relate to a lot. But I think it's just along the lines of, like, I think he's very connected to, like, not necessarily like the earth and things like this, but he's definitely just connected to the really sweet, wholesome things about life. And, if he sees a plant, he's going to think, I wonder how that feels, rather than it's just a little plant,
So Gus is gay, and I guess you represent the LGBTQI plus community in your portrayal of Gus. Your love interest Griff has a complex gay storyline, like the effects of being homosexual in his life, and how that affects his work, and then how that affects his relationships. In this instance with Gus. But for Gus, once again, it's refreshingly simple. He is Gus and he's gay. Done. No backstory, no complexity. I mean, that's a beautiful angle to take on a gay character in 2023. Hey.
Yeah, I think it's like, I mean, I just think it's refreshing, because, like, I think the character of Gus in himself, to be honest, he's not represented by his sexuality. It's just who he is. And I don't think there's really ever, I mean, obviously, in terms of the audience knowing his sexuality, I think it was a really beautiful scene, which you kind of find that out, because it just means nothing to him. It's just sort of like, yeah, like, guys, like, it's just really, there is no emphasis on that fact, and playing that is kind of refreshing in this day and age, where, like, it gets the love story going. Obviously Griff's story is a little bit more based on his sexuality and some of the troubles that he comes across with that. But, like, for Gus, at least, it's kind of mirroring that and showing a different side to life, where that's not how people view him, especially in the community. They're viewing him as Gus. Like it's not even a question, and it's not even something to be talked about, really.
Yeah. So let's talk about something that might divide the audience a little bit. So tell me about what Gus sees in Griff, because I'm on Team Splitsville. I just don't think Griff deserves someone like Gus. What does Gus see in Griff?
I think he's just kind of encapsulated by him. I think I feel like Griff is sort of this enigma. Like I don't think I also think Gus is really good at looking into someone and seeing their potential. Like he doesn't judge, like he's not someone who really, he doesn't, I think he's just a very good person at like viewing someone on a deeper level than anyone else has before. And I think straight away with Griff, he is almost, it's like a magnet. It's like there's something in there that for some reason when they first meet, you're sort of like, how would they work? But like he sees it. And I don't know, I think sometimes when you talk to couples or things like that, sometimes you can't really explain necessarily what that is, but there's just something about Griff that he loves. And I think he's very aware from the start, and he's completely drawn to that there's something else in Griff that it's not his job, and he doesn't, and he's definitely not going to sacrifice himself to bring that out of them, bring it out of him, but he knows it's there. And yeah, I suppose he's just attracted to that quality, I think.
So tell me about season 2. What lies ahead for Griff and Gus? Because if it involves Gus being dragged into Griff's life rather than vice versa, I'll be so upset.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the thing. So I'm pretty sure we're just being played on ABC at the moment in Australia, and it's obviously 2 seasons are out on Acorn TV at the moment. And yeah, without going down the route of potentially like spoiling it for people in season 2, even though it is already out there, so everyone can go watch it now.
Sure.
But they definitely come across. Obviously, how it ends on season 1 is that he's definitely not going to sacrifice himself. Like Griff either has to go the whole way or it's nothing. And I think that's what I've always liked about Gus. He's not going to sacrifice himself just for someone. He's going to make sure he upholds his values and morals. But yeah, I think it does get into this sort of thing where if Gus wants to be with Griff, which he does, and if Griff is happy to accept himself, then he's going to be thrown into this world. It'd be like anything, as if we were to date someone where they've got that sort of social standing in the world. And that comes with a lot of trials and tribulations for Gus, because that's not his world. And he definitely doesn't know how to act in that world at all. And that starts to make Gus question, I think, a little bit of, is this right for me? Is this really what I want? Is Griff worth everything that comes with Griff? So that's definitely like a season 2 conundrum that he has.
We can't not mention the relationship between Gus and Tippy. What a beautiful friendship. Some might say, sexuality aside, that they would have made the perfect couple. I think their bond kind of supersedes sex, and that they're better off not being together. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I absolutely love Trey to like the bottom of my heart, who plays Tippy. She's like become one of my very, very close friends, and I think you can see that on screen, and even more in season 2. These guys they've just known each other for a long time. I think they get each other, and I think they are always wanting the best for each other. And you're right. It's kind of funny that they almost seem like they should be the couple, but I almost love that, because it shows like, it almost feels like some of that platonic relationship is just as important to have that depth than just a relationship where you're sexually interested in one another. Like that platonic relationship almost feels like, oh yeah, you have to really value your friends as well, and do as much work on that relationship as you would as someone that you want to share your life with. So yeah, I love Tippy and Gus's relationship. And you'll see in season 2, as it goes on, they just they really grow, and you start to see when they start getting drawn apart, you actually get to see a few moments there where it's almost like he's choosing between a life with Griff and then the life that he loves and fits in so well, and that strongly includes Tippy. So it's challenging for Gus for sure.
Yeah, it's a beautiful friendship. I have to ask just one question about the shirtless scenes, and I'm sure there's been a few women and gay men hitting pause on their screens. I wouldn't do something as silly as that. Now, in all seriousness, are shirtless scenes and sex scenes considered a necessary evil for you, or are they seen to embrace because they are part of the character and storylines, or are they just plain awkward?
Yeah, so I made a choice for season 1 to get myself in that sort of shape. Do I regret it? Yeah, I mean, I don't regret it. I think it's been really interesting. I think my journey along with that. I mean, I think with all actors, there's just there's a lot of body image pressures that can kind of start to tickle into your mind at times, and that's been really difficult, I think. And definitely with season 1, I feel like I almost made the mistake of putting a little bit too much emphasis on that for myself. And I look back and I'm really proud now, but I definitely think in season 2 I learned a massive lesson when it came to getting into that sort of shape, because not only is it a lot of time and money and but it's mentally really exhausting. And if you're putting so much pressure on yourself to like look like good, like whatever that means, and I think I definitely went down like a little trap where I put a little bit too much pressure on myself, and I've started to kind of realize what makes me happy, and sometimes that's not necessary. And I definitely think it's cool. I like the idea of like Gus almost being like that ripped just because it really isn't who he is either. So there's this really funny kind of like, it's just like it's like an oxymoron, like visually, like because you're like, this guy looks like this, but he does not see that in real life, which I kind of like. It's not emphasizing his body at all. I think it's just the work that he does has just made him into this beast of a man.
Of course. Different tangent. Tell me about where Under the Vines is filmed, because what a beautiful part of New Zealand it is.
Honestly, we're so lucky to like live there for like 3 months a year. It's in Cromwell. Well, we live in Cromwell, which is in central Otago, and it's just in the heart of the wine capital, basically, of New Zealand, in terms of like it's where the best Pinot Noir and my favorite like beautiful Chardonnays are down there. And it's honestly, the people are so friendly, the landscape, you never get sick of it. You're driving to work, like, because we usually have to drive to like a vineyard where it's filmed, and that's about a half an hour drive. And that's kind of past Clyde, which is like a beautiful small town. And the people are really, really lovely there. They've all been so supportive of the show. So they took me and Trey, and we were doing wine tours and meeting a lot of local winemakers and learning a lot about the region, and learning a lot about wine. And honestly, it feels like home there. A lot of us feel really attached to that place just because we're so it's a gorgeous part of New Zealand.
Yeah. Now, without revealing the actual storylines, I can say that season 2 does not end with a nicely tied bow around it. Plenty of unresolved storylines and cliffhangers.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell me there'll be a season 3. And I say that knowing that Acorn TV haven't yet announced a season 3, so you won't be revealing anything exclusively today. But can you blink really fast if there's going to be a season 3?
Do you know what, mate? I have no idea. I'm just like you. I'm currently sitting in LA being like, I wonder if I'll go back to New Zealand to shoot season 3. And I'll often be sending Rebecca Gibney a few messages on Instagram being like, so any news on whether or not we're going again? She's like, not yet, hopefully soon. So I can't, unfortunately, give people the good news that we're going again. But I'm hoping just as much, hopefully, as everyone else is.
All right, let's talk about Simon Mead now for a bit, not just Gus. I think your first major acting role was at like 13. That's an early start. What was life growing up like? Were you a a show pony as a toddler and just knew you wanted to act? Because I asked that because I read that after your first role, it was only then that kind of solidified that your desire that you really wanted to do this.
Yeah, I think I was probably just like a really hyperactive child, and I think my mum was just like, this guy needs to jump into some like little drama classes to exert some energy on a Sunday, so I don't have to deal with it, which is absolutely fair enough, mum. And then once I did that, I kind of got an agent, and then from there just started acting. And yeah, you're right, I booked a show called Nothing Trivial, and I was on that for 3 seasons in a telly feature. So I think that took me all the way from 13 to 17. So I was kind of for 3 months a year, sort of in and out of school doing that. And I just fell in love with it. I feel like I was quite a mature kid, so I felt like I could work with adults at quite a young age and feel confident doing so. And I was always really social, and I love being on set, and I've always been a show off. So that part of it has just been like, I love to perform, and it's a really good time. And yeah, and I think a massive part of it is the camaraderie that you end up making with cast and crew. And I don't think people unfortunately get to see that. But it's just such a pleasure of an industry to work in when you find the right job with the right people, and when you're there, and it just becomes addictive. And yeah, so I decided to commit pretty early, and I haven't really looked back.
So tell me more about that first role in Nothing Trivial. I think you played Noah.
Yeah.
We actually did get the series in Australia, so
Yeah, it was basically about a group of friends who meet up for like a pub quiz night. And then sort of the show is just all about like how their little personal lives intertwine. And then the focal point is that they all get together every, I think, what, Tuesday night or something for the pub quiz. But I was just one of the lead actor, Shane Cortez. I played his son. So just sort of like classic family drama, classic teenage upbringing and things like that. But I mean, those actors, they really taught me a lot. They really guided me through a lot. And again, made a lot of great friends, a couple who I still talk to this day. So it's just yeah, it was great. I mean, it was so fun also just to go to school and be like, oh, see you guys, I've got to go to film a TV show. Like that felt like quite a cool thing when you're 13 years old. So from then on, it was like, yeah, if I can keep doing this, that'd be pretty fun.
I was intrigued by your film Black Christmas. I couldn't find an avenue to watch it, so I ended up with a with a Russian copy where the voices were dubbed in Russian, but it had subtitles underneath. So not the best way to watch a film, but that was different. Tell me about Black Christmas, because that was far away from Gus for sure.
Yeah, Black Christmas is a funny one. It was a Blumhouse film that was coming down to shoot in New Zealand. And actually, weirdly enough, we filmed pretty close to the vineyard that under the vines. Yeah, there's this like old house in Ernstclough, I think. And we filmed it there. So that was quite a weird kind of correlation. But yeah, it's a great opportunity in New Zealand sometimes, because obviously when US productions come down, they'll sometimes just send out a casting brief locally. And I was one of the lucky ones, one of the lucky few New Zealand actors actually who managed to get parts in that. And that was just a great experience to just sort of be in that sort of environment. But yeah, it's a very different. I mean, it's a horror, so it's a little bit different to what Gus is, for sure. Where I was kind of playing a boyfriend, and there's a bit of possessed things going on. But that was an amazing experience because we got to come out to LA and have a premiere out here, and I think that was like my first taste of like what the industry is kind of like in terms of how it's viewed in America and then how it's viewed in New Zealand, which is a massive contrast.
And you're now in LA, and you mentioned that at the start. What are you up to there? Any secret projects?
There's nothing on the horizon at the moment. Hopefully, Under the Vine season 3, but yeah, it's an interesting time in the industry at the moment. In terms of the amount of work that's coming out. But what I would say is it's like, yeah, I decided to I won a green card. So I'm a permanent resident out here, and I decided to make the move about probably 8 or 9 months ago now. So I'm still relatively settling in, but yeah, it's going well in a sense of slowly enjoying and adjusting to life over here. And yeah, hopefully all the best for the future.
Yeah. What are your passions away from acting? Because I hear cricket's a go-to for you.
Yeah, I played cricket a lot when I was in New Zealand. I was like decently good. Like I got pretty close to doing well in my city in Auckland, but I think realistically, like I was never gonna probably go that far. I really love football. I love football as in soccer. I wake up, I'm like an avid, people are gonna hate me, but I'm an avid Manchester City fan. I've been supporting them since I was a young boy. So I wake up at like 2 a.m. in New Zealand to watch those games. And luckily over here in LA time, it's a little bit later. But yeah, I love travel. I mean, I do heaps of traveling. Before I moved to America, I went and just did another 8 weeks where I just kind of plotted around and solo traveled around Europe. And I do a lot of solo traveling if I can and things like that. So yeah, football and travel is pretty much what I get up to, and socializing.
You're also a great voice actor too. I actually listened to a few advertisements like online that you did with an American accent. I mean, if you don't mind, can you give the audience a quick demo, like 1 or 2 lines with that American voice? It's unbelievable.
I would say, just because if I'm put on the spot, I will be terrible. But if you want to hear American accent, just where would you find it? Just go watch Black Christmas. Go do
Yeah.
that or something like that. For sure.
I have got a couple of links I can put up because there is a yeah, I'll do
Go
that.
for it. But yeah, accents is a funny one. I either have to have no, I mean I can do it, but I'm just like I'm a classic Kiwi. I'm way too like, oh no.
All right, second last question. As we wrap up, Simon, let's head back to Under the Vines. Now, for Australians, Rebecca Gibney is television royalty here. She's been nominated and won so many awards, including winner of the Gold Logie in Australia. Her Australian series Wanted had some episodes filmed in New Zealand, which I'm pretty sure were filmed not far away from Under the Vines. What did you learn from our queen of the screen?
I think Bex just encapsulates like basically the perfect what we call number one. So like if you look at a cast sheet, you've got all the characters are ordered, and obviously Rebecca is like the main. Daisy is your main character, so she's number one, and then it will go two. And I think there's this thing around the industry where like number ones can kind of have that power on a crew, and there's like a weird dynamic. And I just think Bex encapsulates what a number one should be. She is so generous and so kind, and I swear I'm not just saying this because like a lot of the time you hear, I always watch interviews and I'm like, yeah, I've been on a TV set. I know how things work. Like you're not telling me something. But I think Bex, like what she does in terms of she's not only kind, but she's also like, she's actually true and hard and fair when she needs to be. And I think that comes in as being an executive producer on the show. But I just think I learned how to treat people. I think she really, especially if you're going to work your way, and hopefully, one day I'll be a lead of a show one day, and I hope to do that. That's a goal and a dream of mine. And I think the main thing Bex taught me is how to compose yourself when you're in those positions, and how to treat people with kindness, and also do a really, really bloody good job whilst doing it. And I think that's possible. You don't have to be an asshole actor to be good. You can be a really genuinely great person, and do an incredible job at the same time.
Yeah, beautiful. And finally, just as an overview, because the ABC is getting close to the end of season 1, and season 2 will be available on Acorn. What can we expect holistically from season 2 of Under the Vines?
Do you know, it's funny. I love this show because of the castmates. I've never been on a cast where I swear they are like family. And we all are just so close. myself, Carrie, Trey, Dean, who plays Griff, like me, he was just like an absolute mentor to me. Charlie is just the most angelic man in the world, and then same with Bex, you know. And I think with season 2, you'll see all of our friendships solidify outside, like off screen, and then it translate on screen. And I think whenever you do a first series of something, you're settling in, you're getting used to characters, you know, just as much as you guys are watching us, we're also like on this trying to figure it out for ourselves. And I think on season 2, what we can expect is us really settling into these characters, really committing and really really enjoying each other and just enjoying having fun making a TV show with people that we absolutely adore and love. And I think that really translates into season 2. And it can be heartbreaking and sad, but then also really bloody hilarious and beautiful at the same time.
Oh, so one big whānau, beautiful.
Exactly.
Simon, thank you for bringing us Gus. I hope he's not seen just as idealistic, but rather an inspiration of who we can become. You brought so much heart to the role, and it's a great series. And good luck with the next part of your career and with the cricket. And look forward to a season 3 announcement for Under the Vines. Fingers crossed. Thank you, Simon, for joining me here at TV Central.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. Appreciate it, mate.
All right, Simon Mead there, who plays Gus in Under the Vines. While some new viewers are seeing the series with season 1 now screening on the ABC on Saturday nights, if you want to move straight into season 2, then it may be the time to get an Acorn TV account, because all 6 episodes of season 2 are now screening on Acorn TV. Head to acorntv@au.acorn.tv. There are heaps of other series on Acorn, like 800 Words, Agatha Raisin, Girlfriends, Miss Fisher, lots of stuff. But that's it for this podcast. For all the latest television news, streaming info, guides, ratings, and of course, podcasts, head to tv.com.au. Until next time, I'm Aaron Ryan. Thanks to Simon Mead. Bye for now.